ladies and gentlemen, our beautiful PNM family here, abroad, on Radio Land, on TV Land. So good to see you in your numbers tonight. Our political leader, our Prime Minister, Dr. Keith Rowley. Distinguished members of the head table, I have to say that our counselor tonight, because she will be our counselor, could park up any single person I have heard as a newcomer to a platform. Let me hear a round of applause for our talented Kerry-Ann Roberts-Casmally. Distinguished members of the cabinet, members of the beautiful audience here tonight assembled, outside is overflowing and packed fully. Welcome to such a beautiful event. Members of the media who are carrying this live on radio and on television, this does not look like a local government election. This, ladies and gentlemen, from our meetings in San Fernando, our meetings throughout Trinidad and Tobago, our meeting tonight, this tells me that the country is paying attention to good business. And therefore tonight, I come quickly to the point. Why local government? Why vote for councillors? Why step out to answer the cry for your country? It's ultimately about us. We the people that wish to create a vision for our society, one of hope and prayer. But why really pay attention tonight? I'll tell you why. It's not only in what we have got done, but it is in the vision of what we will do. So tonight I come as the Attorney General, in large part, to talk about a few narrow issues that make a difference. You see, our political opponents, the only big news Kamla Persad-Bissessar could carry today is that some lawyer write Minister Diyal Singh a pre-action protocol letter. That is what the UNC offers for you on deck. Night after night, 3 speakers carrying the same story. I ask you to sift it. Find value. What are the issues in our country? 2 big issues: the economy and crime. In a sense, they're both related. Crime is obviously something that suppresses your economy. We have to spend on law enforcement. We have to spend on protection. If you feel a sense of confidence, you enjoy your country, it grows, you occupy it. The 2 things are related. And therefore, when we come tonight to 2 issues of economy and crime, permit me to speak to the issue of how we address the scourge of crime. I'm going to focus tonight on getting it done by the application of common sense, hard work, and commitment. Why are we afraid of criminality? Why do we have people who know that crime exists in their country and are afraid to speak up? Why don't people turn up at a police station and say, I saw X or I saw Y and I'll stand as a witness? The answer is that we are afraid to come forward because the gap between crime detection and a conviction in our country is equal to about 20 years in some of the worst examples. Let me give you one example. Close to here is the Piarco International Airport. That was starting in construction in or around 1999, in the year 2000. 14 years ago in our country, we started a commission of inquiry which led to a case going to the magistrates court. Because in our country we have something called preliminary inquiries. It's a step to say if you have a serious crime to answer, a charge against you, go to the magistrates court, and at the magistrates court, let them see if you have a case to answer in the High Court. 14 years ago, a case started, and last week, we had a judgment of the High Court which said that exercise of 14 years of preliminary inquiry, something went wrong, so just restart it. Now, I make no statement as to innocence or guilt. I wear the hat as Attorney General. I just simply point it out in the context of saying there is no acquittal to be had in a trial that has not come, and there is no conviction to be had in a trial that has not come. Add it into the situation of fighting crime, you ask yourselves, why should I bother to stand up as a witness or report a crime or say no to criminality in my country if I know the process takes 20 years? So what have we done? And I'm going to dive to something centrally. The criminal justice system, as to 95% of what we do, is to be found in the magistrates court. Every year, 146,000 new cases come to the magistrates court. 43 magistrates in 12 courts hearing 146,000 cases. We said that magistrates ought to focus on the real hardcore matters. And to treat with that, we said, let us, out of common sense, remove the roadblocks to having serious trial matters occur, or trial of serious matters occur. 146,000 new cases come, 104,000 of those cases, 104,000 of those cases are motor vehicle and road traffic offenses. Doesn't common sense tell you that those cases which come up every year require 100% resources? Policeman must be present. The man who issued the ticket, the man at the door calling your name, the magistrate sitting in the court, lining up at 9 o'clock in the morning, everybody's name get called, matter dismissed. Those things actually show us only 30% of the 104,000 cases actually result in something happening. What did we do? Minister of Works and Transport, along with Attorney General, went to the Parliament and we said, let us convert that into violations. You will get a ticket in the mail. If you want to contest the ticket, you, the 30%, find yourself in court, so we're reducing the workflow by 70%. But when you take 104,000 cases out of 146,000 cases, you get 42,000 cases left. 43 magistrates in 12 courts used to be hearing 146,000. By month or so from now, will be hearing 42,000 cases left. I just gave you the example of preliminary inquiries. Today I can report I sat with the DPP, having sat with the judiciary, and I can tell you that we are a short distance away, and this year, one small parliamentary debate to tweak a few matters in the law to abolish preliminary inquiries, which we intend to have happen certainly in our tenure, and at worst case in the early part of next year. But when we take preliminary inquiries out of the system, approximately 26,000 matters automatically fall out of that 42,000 that's left. 146 minus 104,000 minus 26,000 leaves you at 16,000 cases. 43 magistrates hearing 16,000 cases in an environment where we have opened more courts, We are creating civil courts in the waterfront, opening 60 hearing rooms in the Port of Spain Hall of Justice, courts in Pinal, Princestown, Rio Claro, San Fernando, Faizabad, St. Clair. This government will have opened the greatest number of courts in the history of Trinidad and Tobago in one tenure, because today, in putting that system into place, the matters have to be heard somewhere. So let's get further down to it. What else can we do, ladies and gentlemen, to reduce the number of matters that can come out the system? Anybody ever heard about marijuana, cannabis, ganja, spliff, kush? Name it what you wish, call it what you may. Some say it is a rose, some say it is a disease. Fact is, ladies and gentlemen, I want to give you some statistics tonight. You may not know this, but we in the PNM drive our philosophy and policy on the back of data. And I want to tell you what the data in relation to dangerous drugs and marijuana in particular looks like. You see, marijuana is classified as a dangerous drug under the Dangerous Drugs Act. 25 years ago in 1994, we created a Dangerous Drugs Act. Marijuana as a law and law to regulate it has been dealt with since the 1800s. 1894, 1899, 1915, 1928, 1961. And marijuana has been the subject of this Dangerous Drugs Act, where possession of marijuana means you are in possession of a dangerous drug, and if you're in possession of a dangerous drug, if a policeman finds you with that, you can find yourself on a charge. You all want to know what the data looks like? Let's carry the conversation properly. I can tell you in the period 2007 to 2018, there have been 84,668 matters for possession of marijuana in our courts. Let me repeat that. Nearly 85,000 matters in the courts. I can tell you, as a matter of fact, in 2018 alone, 8,316 people came before the magistrate's court for possession of marijuana alone. Let me connect the dots. 146,000 minus 104,000 minus 26,000 equals 16,000. 8,000 cases per year for possession of marijuana alone. If you take that out, you're left with 8,000 cases before 43 magistrates in 12 courts. Hence, the idea and genesis for decriminalizing marijuana. But those things are statistics. Let's talk people. 8,000 odd people coming before the courts. But is it just people coming before the courts? Let me tell you this, ladies and gentlemen. It is not so much the people that come before the courts. It's the people that actually get incarcerated in remand conditions. Some of those people have a different story. The person who was young and stupid and tried this dangerous drug, as many have by the data shown. Those people with criminal records who can't get a job, who can't qualify to fly a plane, who can't enter into school, who cannot get a visa, they have lives to talk about. So let's look at the picture of who is incarcerated and what happens on that particular end. In the incarceration, I can tell you, in the period 2010 to 2018, 407 people were put into remand yard, together with 991 people for trafficking, 41 for cultivation, and in total, a figure amounting to 3,439. Roughly 500 people a year are incarcerated in pre-trial conditions. You know what that means? You ain't get to court yet. You go before the court for possession of marijuana. You cannot access bail because you don't have a house to get bail. You can't pay a bailer to get bail. You can't pay a lawyer to get bail. They tell you you have bail, and roughly 500 people a year sit down inside a jail. Now you might say, well, you stupid enough. You, the 500 of you per year, you, the 3,500 of you per year, you should have known better. As the old people say, you're too hardened. But that would not tell the story of people that use cannabis, marijuana, for medical reasons, people that have epilepsy, people that have serious conditions, people that were caught with it because it is a crime of strict liability, and the man next to you had it, and two of you get taken down in the car and you go down. But it's not as simple as that, you know. Everybody in this room has paid for that. What do I mean? I can tell you. Taxpayers pay for prisons officers, magistrates, policemen, forensics, prosecutor, summons officer, warrant officer, food in the prisons, electricity in the prisons, water in the prisons, justice on time, and the figure conservatively taken for the cost of one prisoner per month in the jail, whether in remand or convicted, is anywhere between $15,000 to $20,000 a month. Let me do the math for you. If I take the simple figure of 3,429 remanded people, and I take 1 year of remand only, not 10 years, not 5 years, and I say that if I average it out, I had 12 months of incarceration, and I multiply it by $15,000 per month, you know what the figure is? $617 million spent by taxpayers. You know what that equals to? Money that could be used in the hospital, money that could be used in books, money that could pay the fuel subsidy, money that could pay your LPG. You know that a tank of LPG gas in Jamaica is 120 TT dollars. You know how much we pay? $20 is what we pay on average. I'm telling you this because electricity is subsidized, water is subsidized, LPG is subsidized, gasoline is still subsidized, education, medicine, tertiary education in particular as a cohort. We just gave out 400 scholarships. There was a small delay because our cabinet decided that we were going to take the 388 scholarships that the ministry technocrats came up with. We said no. We had a limit of 400. We added in the extra numbers to give the people of this country. But what's the bill, Minister Garcia? $140 million. $140 million is what the taxpayer pays for a scholarship. 142. Thank you, Prime Minister. You know, he paying attention to it. Today he said, I shouldn't talk about cabinet. Today the Prime Minister said, as he gets older, which in his case is younger, he has a problem in spending tax-paying dollars back. So, here we are with marijuana. And I wish to tell you, I have just painted an argument of common sense. What we are doing with marijuana is we are saying we want to treat with this thing, this dangerous drug, number one, why? It means there's greater time for a magistrate and court to focus on rape, aggravation, murder, whatever you want to call it, serious crime. But the UNC has rolled out, no pun intended. Auntie Kamala has come to the population to say, we will deal with marijuana. We're going to pass law to treat with it. I saw in the pre-action protocol letter to Terence Dialsing, the lawyer who wrote the letter set out Kamala history. And they're saying she has a distinguished career. She's a member of the inner bar. You know what I mean? She gives herself silk. Right? She's a member of the inner bar. Right? So, Senior Counsel Kamala Persad-Bissessar, in that letter was portrayed as being Minister of Education, Minister of Legal Affairs, Attorney General of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago. Kamala, 25 years after the passage of the Dangerous Drugs Act. 25 years later, 5 years and 3 months with you as member of the inner bar, holding senior counsel as Prime Minister, add another 5 years when you acted as Legal Affairs and Attorney General and Minister of Legal Education. You had 10 years and 3 months to amend the law. You see, ladies and gentlemen, the law, the 1994 law, actually allows in sections 4 and 5 onward for an industry under the hand of the Minister of Health, for the Minister of Health to license importation, cultivation, exportation, manufacture, medical, and other usage. Mrs. Persad-Bissessar, with the greatest of respect, dear ma'am, you missed the boat. Because our cabinet today, under our Prime Minister today, approved for laying tomorrow in the Parliament 2 pieces of law. One, the amendment to the Dangerous Drugs Act to decriminalize the possession of marijuana and the scourge. And the second piece of law is the Cannabis Control Authority Bill. And if you'd permit me a quick moment to talk to these issues, let me tell you what the law has in it. Number one, the Dangerous Drugs Act is a good piece of law. Passed in 1994, the offenses have not been amended for quite some time. The Privy Council came up with a decision and said, look, mandatory sentencing, you had to get rid of that. So we cleaned up the act. First thing we did. But what we say in this bill as it relates to marijuana is the following. Between the quantity of 0 to 30 grams of marijuana, and then we treat with resin differently. We say marijuana resin must be managed as well. And in the marijuana resin, we talk about 5 grams of resin, because you know you can have the boiled down version. Let me call it that. The resin. We say under 30 grams of marijuana, you can have that in your possession. Let me repeat that. No criminal charge or offense for under 30 grams. Second, between 30 grams and 60 grams, we say there will be a charge. You, for 30 grams and not more than 60 grams, or if you take the resin 5 grams to 10 grams, you will, if you are in possession of that amount, a policeman can stop you, pull out a fixed ticket, issue a ticket to you, and tell you that you have a fixed penalty notice to pay. And what we say is that if you don't pay your fixed penalty notice, then and only then will you find yourself tripping an offense. And then we say, if you pay that fixed penalty notice, you will find yourself with no record, no conviction, you're in and out, you could pay it electronically or not. But if you cannot pay the fixed penalty notice, you will find yourself subjected to a maximum fine of $50,000. And if you can't pay the fixed penalty notice or the $50,000, as a first run, we will put community service for you. 30 hours of community service. But ladies and gentlemen, we very strictly observed what the rest of the Caribbean was doing. Jamaica, Barbados in particular, under 60 grams is how they treat with it that way. But marijuana is no simple thing. Cannabis is no simple thing. There's an element in it called THC. Marijuana is an hallucinogenic. You smoke it, you eat it, you vape it, you ingest it, you're in trouble. It has a different effect on everyone. It's not like alcohol, which has an effect, which is sedation, they call it. Alcohol will effectively, when it gets you drunk, cause you to fall asleep. Some people may have extreme reactions if they go very overboard. But marijuana, in decriminalizing, in managing this, alongside with this, is a very aggressive education campaign. But don't stop there. Because of the danger, we say you cannot smoke marijuana in any form, including vaping, electronic cigarettes, in a public place. You can do it in private, a place where there's no public access by right. And very importantly, nowhere will you be allowed to have a child in possession. Nowhere will you be allowed to have cannabis in a school, in a schoolyard, a place where children are in occupation and habit. We also say, you the professional, you the person at work, you cannot be under the influence of the drug. You don't want your airline pilot smoking an hallucinogen. You don't want your school teacher high at school. You don't want your bus driver high on the road. You may have had a problem with previous people in high positions of power, but that is not the case on this ground. You don't have to worry about some of us that occupy office right now. None of us are featured in room 201. None of us are featured along the windowsills of plant-like substances. So you can rest easy. The Prime Minister does not look his age, and that is because he's a healthy man with healthy habits. So ladies and gentlemen, this cannabis position is good in some senses, to be very carefully managed in other senses. But what we say is, that's not good enough. Your cabinet, your Prime Minister said today, if you have a pending charge for an amount under 60 grams, go to the court and apply for it to be discharged automatically. If you have a conviction, go with a free conscience and have your conviction removed from your criminal record. If you have a conviction, feel free to approach the pardon aspect of the Mercy Committee under the Constitution. So we treat with the past matters at the same time as well. And ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you another common sense aspect why. Very importantly, do you know that decriminalizing marijuana under 60 grams, you know what that does? It frees up 86.6% of the workload of the forensics division. What does the forensics division do? Rape kit, abuse, ballistics, cocaine, other dangerous drugs analysis. You want to make sure, as a matter of getting it done, that you apply common sense to this equation. But let's go further. The entire rest of the world has embraced, and in particular in the Caribbean, the concept of licensed management of cannabis. A cannabis control authority is what we have approved today to be laid in Parliament tomorrow. Why? Because you want to be able to regulate the rest of the world. Otherwise, we in the Caribbean are going to be constantly receiving importation in unlawful means. By the way, in the Dangerous Drugs Act, we have proposed that you will be allowed to have no more than 4 plants in your possession, so you could explain where you got the marijuana from. We propose quickly a licensing regime, cultivator license, research and development license, laboratory license, processor license, retail distributor license, import license, export license, transport license, and very importantly, a religious license, because our Rastafarian faith have been put out as the champions of this cause for a long time, and they have not had the ability for sacramental use. This control bill is how we propose to treat with that. One more thing I'll tell you about this. Obviously, the big companies around the world are the ones that swoop into countries like ours. We have the best cocoa in the world, so perhaps we might have the best marijuana in the world. I don't know. There's the genetic patterns that could happen. There's the origin, like how champagne is in respect of sparkling wine. We have put in a clause that says if you're going to have a license, your license must be in such a way that if you're a company or a cooperative, minimum guarantee of 30% Trinidadian investment. So that way the smaller industry players who are thinking about it can actually have a chance at it and not be swallowed up. So let me put this into context. There's no mama guy. Why does this matter to you, to me, to the country? I've just told you. We've spent close to $700 million to keep our remanded people, if I take a fraction of them. It allows us to take 146,000 cases down to 8,000 cases. It allows for crime to be managed in a tighter way. I could stand there whole night and tell you about the judges and public defender and rules of court and preliminary inquiries and maximum sentence and plea bargaining, all of which we have gotten done in a way that no government prior to us have done. And I wish to tell you this, as I'm given just a very short couple of minutes left. Ladies and gentlemen, that's the process side of the law. That's the common sense side. That's to allow focus. Very importantly, we didn't put all our eggs in one basket. We put our eggs in another basket. Yes, we did plant and machinery, people, processes, and law. Yes, we brought anti-terrorism law and proceeds of crime law and anti-kidnapping and bail amendments. But we put in something that no other government has done the way we have. Follow the money law. Taking the profit out of crime means that we have a chance to do better, because if we can't catch you as a gang leader, we can't catch you importing guns, we could fine your money. And the only people who are opposed to following the money is the UNC. They said no to the income tax amendments, no to FATCA, no to Global Forum, no to the gaming legislation for years. You see, anything that talks about accounts coming into the open, foreign account or local account, is a big problem. But ladies and gentlemen, the Prime Minister had the courage to allow the Cabinet, under his guidance, to put in a very important law. Civil asset, unexplained wealth law. Civil asset forfeiture, unexplained wealth law. And let me tell you how a new society is being created from that very quickly. We ran a tax amnesty. Many of you would have heard of it. Many of you would have been grateful for it. Usually, in a 5-month period of a tax amnesty, anywhere from 4 to 5 months, we've had 5 tax amnesties in our recent history. You usually net about $400 million, $500 million. The Minister of Finance put out a tax amnesty for 2.5 months. You know how much we netted? $2.4 billion in 2.5 months. 1.3 billion was from the oil and gas companies. Thank your Prime Minister for that, for getting on a plane and going to foreign jurisdictions and boardrooms abroad to negotiate the return of equity in Trinidad and Tobago. But thank your government, and if I could be so bold, your Attorney General, for pushing civil asset unexplained wealth, because the other $1.4 billion came by people worrying about making sure they declare their money before the police looking for them. What I can tell you, in taking the profit out of crime, non-profit organizations now organized. Beneficial ownership, tell me who the real owner is. Reforms in the land registry. How many of you noticed 9 people were brought before the courts for the licensing division racket? You think that happened by mistake? It happened because we digitized the records in the licensing division, and the humble man Rohan Sinanan, standing in the back here in conjunction with his team and our team at the AG's office, that's the platform for it. We have digitized our land registry, our company's registry, as we go to better our system. What I'm trying to say as I wind up now, afraid Camille Robinson Regis, what I say as I wind up now is pay attention, look out for the news, understand that following the money is real, and that is transformative for our society. Ladies and gentlemen, my time is up, but my journey is not at an end. The journey of the PNM stands in the votes that we will bring out. You have to say, as Camille Robinson Regis said earlier, that you will take out your PNM Coquier broom and sweep in front of your yard. You will use the holy water. You will read the Gita. You will read the Quran. You will make sure that you arm yourself spiritually, but most importantly, you don't win an election by thinking about voting. You have to vote. So come out on December 2nd and vote resoundingly for a new vision in Trinidad and Tobago, a new society under our distinguished leader, Dr. Keith Rowley. God bless you.